Thank you very much, Steve, for that very, very nice introduction. And you know, Steve is an incredibly appropriate person to be leading or helping to lead these efforts today, because he's somebody who actually isn't just talking the talk, but is actually walking the walk in the businesses that he runs in New York. And I think if you look at whether it's the cruises and then the boat off of Pier 40, or his really, really good, you know, I couldn't possibly promote it because it's probably a violation of the conflict of interest law, but I'll say really, really good restaurant on the Upper East Side, though there are a lot, but that's a particularly good one, you know, from everything to the materials used to make the floor in the restaurant, to the foods that they purchase and them coming from local farmers, etc. He's really showing that you can take business and the environment and bring it together and do right by the environment and make money at the same time. So thank you for being such a great power of example for all of us, Steve. I want to thank President Meiskens of Queens College for not just hosting us today, but also being one of the institutions within the CUNY system that is really leading the way within CUNY and all of the universities in the city for having a green campus and a green agenda. So thank you very much, Mr. President. And you know, if you're at any event just about in Queens, you're going to end up thanking Jack Friedman, because his work on the chambers and in the Holocaust Center and so many other places is really just so significant. So thank you very, very, very much. Now I have two good jobs today. One, some brief comments, and then two, I get to introduce the chair of our Environmental Protection Committee, Jim Gennaro. But before I do, who's brought his fan club, before I do that, I want to recognize another environmental champion on the City Council, the person who, with me, among other things, was one of the lead sponsors of our citywide plastic bag recycling program, Councilmember Peter Malone, also of Queens, and I want to thank him for being here. Today's meeting is very exciting for a couple of different reasons. One, you know, for a long time, if you talked about the environment and business, the assumption would be that the rest of your comments would be about the battle that was going to ensue between those two different sectors. And although there's still some, I guess, sense or remnant of that out there, we have in a significant way turned a corner, I think. And I think that sense that the only way to be pro-environment is to be anti-business is really gone or disappearing in our city and hopefully in our society as a whole. Now, being here today, though, in addition to having turned that corner, we have a unique opportunity right now. Now, it's hard to think of this recession as a unique opportunity, but what we have to do, quite frankly, is find the opportunities in this recession, or we're just going to get stuck in it for even longer. And the reality is that the possibilities for greening our economy, for greening our city, really create a tremendous economic opportunity that can be part of the stimulus that moves us out of this recession, A, and B, has New York City poised to really latch on when the economy begins to turn around in the city and the country. And what we need to do, and what today I know is doing, is continue that work. And we need to continue it to help as it relates to the recession, but we need to continue it for another reason. You know, we've all heard our new president speak eloquently and specifically about the opportunities for a green economy and the positive impact that can have on our planet and the positive impact that can have on people's pocketbooks. But with this and so many other issues, the new president is going to face opposition and roadblocks. The worst thing we could do on the local level is think that our job is done now that Barack Obama is president of the United States. In fact, we have to redouble our efforts. Redouble our efforts so if there is need for support from the environmental and business communities to push things through in Washington, that we're ready to give that support. We also need to redouble our efforts to be an example in New York City of what we want the country to be, because the best way we're going to get additional federal changes is for people in Washington to be able to point to their hometowns. We happen just to be the best hometown in the country, but to point to their hometowns and say, look, this is happening already. If we don't keep up, we're going to fully fall behind and be left behind. So this summit today, the first of 50, is going to create a great opportunity for more ideas, more energy, and more possibilities for all of us. You know, I'm very also excited about the fact that the Chamber is involved in this event today, and I want to thank Jack for that, because although we've turned a corner as it relates to business and the environment, I don't think we've necessarily turned the same corner as it relates to small businesses and the environment. And the truth is, small businesses have a lot harder cash flow situations often than larger businesses. But we can't take that reality and then walk away and say, well, they can't be environmentally friendly. They can, we just have to figure out how to make that possible. And I'm so glad that so many, the Chamber and their members are here today. You know, in the Council, in the 3 years we've been in office in this Council, we've tried very hard to make the environment a high priority for us. You know, in our first year, we passed a solid waste management plan that really commits to borough self-sufficiency and to no one borough carrying literally the garbage of every borough on their back, and passed a plan that I think speaks to environmental justice. We've tried to continue that work through creating an e-waste recycling program in the city, through the plastic bag recycling program that we talked about, and that one was something that was a very interesting experience, and I want to thank a lot of the people in this room because you helped us keep that program alive. You know, as much progress as we've made, we like to think we've made full progress. But the truth is, when we passed a very aggressive plastic bag, I have trouble saying that, plastic bag recycling program in the city of New York, we saw something interesting and troubling happen. We saw almost immediately, after we'd had hearings and public discussions and meeting with the industries, we saw almost truly in one of those middle of the night things, Albany pass a bill that within that bill eliminated New York City's right to have a plastic bag recycling program that was stronger than the state of New York. They passed a program for the state, that's fine, not great, but fine. But went in there and said, but New York can't ever do better. Why did that happen, I believe? Because I believe the industry got to Albany and said, we don't want something this aggressive. What we were able to do, working with folks like you, is send a message to Albany, you're not taking away our power to make New York the greenest city it can possibly be. We did organizing work for a number of months, which quite frankly you shouldn't have to do for plastic bag recycling, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And at the end, we're able to get the governor to force the legislature to make those changes. So now we have a good statewide program, but a great program in the city of New York, and most importantly, we preserved the city's right to define its own plastics recycling in the 5 boroughs, and that wouldn't have happened without all of us working together. So what I take from that is, with all the progress we've made, there are still those out there fighting against us, which is why events like today are so incredibly important to grow and expand the team that is working to preserve the environment of our city and state. And I want to thank you all for being a part of that team. I was trying to figure out a good reference I could use with the new Jets' Coats motto of a kill strategy on the team, but I just couldn't find anything appropriate, so I'm going to leave you all to that task of figuring out how we could factor that in. And now I'll move on to my second job, which is more important than my first job, which was telling you how great we are on the environment in the City Council, which I think I did effectively. But my second job is the reason why we're so great on the environment in the City Council, and that's because we have a really, really terrific chair of our Environmental Protection Committee. And if any of you have ever met Jim Gennaro, you know 2 things, at least. He cares deeply about the environment, and when he cares deeply about something, he tells you it over and over and over and over until he gets what he needs, until he gets what he needs done and accomplished. And that is a great thing on any issue, but it is a great thing on the environment. Jim, when he became chair, I think set himself a minimal goal of making the New York City Council the most green municipal legislative body anywhere in the world.